Final segment of this week's episode of Implicit Bias. We have a great crew here in the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast. They're located somewhere in downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. Not only do we have Danny Izzo, not only do we have the Consigliere, Chris Castro, we have the Rustic Renegade, and we have George T. Stagg, right behind Caleb. Yes, the Red Stag from Cane Row Ranch in New Iberia. Go see him if you're looking for something. You can find him on Facebook.
Well, look, if Red Stag isn't on your menu, Axis,
yes,
Black Book,
they can do it all. They can do it all. Okay, so we need to wrap up because they're not going to license it. If you purchase a hunt from them, you're actually going to get what you are supposed to get, and you can do what you want with it. But Chris, you wanted to chime in on the licensing as we start to think about all the different things that are now licensed that we can't buy. And you got a little hot under the collar into this one. I like it.
I just it is I don't know. It's maddening to think that you cannot control the things that you purchase and that you put your hard-earned money into, and you have to not to say kowtow, but I guess kowtow is really the word to some manufacturer who you never had any additional. You thought, hey, I buy this printer, I buy this car, I buy whatever
this
it may
phone,
be.
yeah, whatever.
And I have control over it. And if I want to put a particular ink in it, or if I want to change the oil, or if I want to change a tire, or I want to do something, you can't do it. And Kavan, what you had presented to us, and which I think all of our listeners should watch, is that video that relates to John Deere. Now, it talks about John Deere as an example, but it is not the only case.
Absolutely, it's so much more to it. And I'm going to put it on
everything.
our socials. I'll make sure it's on our socials.
It is absolutely everything, and it is just terrible. And I encourage all of our listeners to go ahead and contact your representatives, your senators. Everybody needs to push that issue that needs to be corrected.
Like
ring the bell. Hey,
it's saying that you can only get your Ford repaired at a Ford dealership. It'll do away with the small shops. It'll do away with the people who have lifetimes and decades of experience. Imagine like we're a Glock stocking dealer, we're a Ruger stocking dealer, we're all these other things. And they were like, well, you know what? You can only get that fixed at the Rustic Renegade. Great for me. For me.
But it sticks it to everyone else.
Yes.
And that's ultimately what we are in concert here on Implicit Bias is that power should be with the people. And this is one of those things that takes away power from the people because companies have leveraged and created essentially lawfare against what the original law was written for. They have bastardized it, and I've waited to use that word. They have bastardized the law for their own benefit at your expense. Okay, so speaking of you spending money and things not being the way they are, I told you we're going to talk about Uranus. We are. But I got to go here just because the natural tie-in to you spending money and maybe not getting what you paid for is the Mike Tyson fight. Oh, dear God. I mean,
I got what I paid for.
Well, so I paid for it on Netflix, which I had anyway, so it wasn't any additional cost.
Netflix upset me in the beginning, the bandwidth or whatever they used. I think that some guy was like, hey, man, we really should upgrade our servers. And they were like, Steve, just shut up. We're not doing it.
You know what it was? Somebody said, we're not spending that money. That's what was said.
Yeah. And the best part of the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight was not the first fight, because that was horrible. But I think it was welterweight, and then the female fight.
Yeah.
And then the Mike Tyson interview. Those were like the best parts of the whole thing.
You just like seeing Mike Tyson turn around and walk away.
I hope when I'm like 58, is he 58?
Right. Yeah, he's 58.
I hope when I'm 58, my butt doesn't sag like that. You know? Like that's a goal.
Yeah.
I'll squat.
It is.
Was that the interview he did with the 14-year-old girl?
No,
that was his son. His son was interviewing him, and he turned around and walked away, and he was like, "Oh, that's a jockstrap."
Yep, and that's all he had on, and you only saw it from the back.
Yeah.
Thank goodness you only saw it from the back.
And look, the Serrano fight, the Serrano-Taylor fight was phenomenal. It was a great fight.
Rigged. Saying.
And then it was stolen. And then the
Ramirez
and something else.
Yeah.
That fight was just technical,
fantastic
man.
Fight.
It was the hits, the throws, the tactic that was done in that, it was phenomenal.
Okay, so I have seen reports, and this is what upsets me and why I say maybe people didn't get what they paid for. There are reports, again, I don't have a copy of it, and it's going to be really hard to get copies of the contracts, but there is a report that the rules for the fight stated that for Mike Tyson to get
rounds.
paid the most money, he had to go all 8 rounds, and if he won, he didn't get paid as much.
Yep.
And you've got now people taking clips where Tyson is absolutely starting to contact with Jake Paul, and Paul hugs him, and all of a sudden you see Tyson tap him on the back like, it's going to be all right, buddy.
You can see
Tyson then after that lays off.
When Tyson walked out, and I talked to Chase a little bit about this with Kacheri's Coffee, a little bit about beforehand because he's a boxer. good
Yes,
boxer.
and Kacheri's Coffee you hear advertised here on the show. It's what we use in our house. It's fantastic.
And Tyson came out, and I was like, oh my God, he is fast. Like, you saw his feet work. You know, he got him with a left jab, and I'm like, man, that guy for his age is a beast. And then he was like, I was in fourth gear. Let's go back to first. And then whenever he landed one good hit, he popped Jake with a left jab in the throat, and he played it off or did whatever. And I'm like, okay.
It did look like Tyson maybe got stunned at one point.
He did get stunned at one point.
It looked like he recovered,
but he
and
also,
then all of a sudden pulled back.
He was pulling everything back. You could tell. Like, if you can't tell, you can tell. He pulled it back. He didn't hit hard. He wasn't working it. And you're like, when you watch his training videos and everything he did, that man's still a beast.
So,
and we got played.
I don't disagree. But speaking of pulling it back, this is the one that, you know, somebody's having fun with NASA. Because the headline that we got on social media, which was great, was the wind blowing out of Uranus makes it difficult to be probed, says NASA scientists. Okay. There's a bell that needs to be rung for whoever wrote that headline. Congratulations on whoever wrote that headline, because Chris thinks it's funny. Here's another funny headline from BGR.com. NASA has a big problem with all the wind blowing out of Uranus. These are, Tug laugh. It's funny. You know it's funny. You know it's funny because the wind coming out of Uranus, thankful that it makes it hard to be probed, right? It's all I'm saying. Someone somewhere got to have some fun with this. And it's about
someone got to have fun with Uranus? I'm just picking up what you're putting down here.
Hey, all I know is we have seen for the last 30 years people taking words and redefining them and putting them in bad context to get whatever meaning they want out of them. And it's about time that we saw someone with our sense of humor get put in charge of a NASA headline. Danny?
The NASA of this millennium is not the NASA of the 1960s.
Agreed. The NASA of this millennium isn't making any videos and claiming that they're real. I'm kidding. And
it doesn't have computers in the original sense.
Correct.
Well, I did a little bit of research on this, and what this, as I understand, comes down to is research that was done back in, I think, in 2006 or 2003, and it's an assessment of whatever the conditions were at the planet of Uranus as this probe flew by, and because there happened to be essentially a hurricane or some wind event that was going on on the planet at the time.
Hold on, Uranus broke wind?
Yeah. Uranus was breaking a lot of wind.
I think this goes to the fact that it's important to trim.
Right when we flew by. But the point is, like, why are we talking about this in 2024? I mean, is somebody getting paid for this? I think there was a journal article on it. Like, what's the issue?
I'll tell you why. Because it's 2024 and everything is on the table. I mean, let's face it. Aliens are on the table.
Uranus is on the table?
If I wiggle just right, yes. Oh. Anyway, the reality is everything's on the table. Everything's up for grabs, including Uranus in 2024. You've got aliens, you've got assassinations, you've got ancient civilizations, you've got
Memphis.
Göbekli Tepe, you name it. You name it. It is on the cards in 2024. It should be on the bingo cards in 2024.
I'm hopeful that these upcoming years here in the next couple of several, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever happened here with Elon Musk and our technological advancements, and maybe we can, as a country, get back to the superiority that we had, whether it be on a private basis or whether it be in a public or private, consortium. But I think there's some potential here, and things such as this that are old news, really, and old research, just flies by.
As I hope, as we have to wrap up, I apologize for time. As I hope that is all of our implicit bias.
And to go back to earlier tonight, only the shadow knows.
Have a great week. We'll see you in 7.